Okay, when is it?
It says live.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, and welcome to the Amateur Otaku Podcast. I'm your today's host, the Mad Punisher Doc Isak, and joining me today is Present Mike. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, Punisher. We get to talk My Hero Academia today, like we've been doing every week, and the anime's been really good. How have you been enjoying it so
Yeah,
far?
before we started, you might be wondering where the padawan is. Well, he had some family issues that he couldn't. Uh, he had to take care of, but he told us to go forth and record without him. So that's what we're going to do here.
Yeah, the Scarlet
And
fan's gonna be back in a flash.
you went full metal here.
Hey.
But anyway, shall we start with the episode then?
Yeah, so this is episode 95, match 3. It is the third match, as the title implies. We get to see basically Team Todoroki take the
Yeah.
field.
And
What were your thoughts on this one? I guess because again, it's the third match. It's just another battle.
I remember when you spoke with me and Brandon last time about they are dragging it along and all that jazz. And honestly, while I do enjoy the fight, I'm starting to realize, or should I say, starting to see what you mean, because this, I hate to say it, but maybe it should have been something in between this, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Something along the lines of, how I mentioned the training arc in season 1 in Attack on Titan, how that isn't in the manga, but it's still not filler, so to speak, because it just stretches out their journey of being fighters against the Titans. And I feel that maybe they should have had something like that, because while I do enjoy the fighting, I can see why there are barely anyone that speaks about this show on Twitter right now, because I don't know if you have noticed it, but there is more talk about the manga every time the new chapter release than the next episode.
Yeah, and it's exactly like we were saying before, that it's getting repetitive. Like I tweeted the day this episode came out, that Saturday morning, that the reason why the sports festival worked in season 2 was that every episode, every event was different, right? You had the cavalry battle, you had the race, you had the individual fights. Here, it's just 3 fights in a row, and each time it's a 2-part episode. And so the resolution for this matchup is going to be great. Don't get me wrong, I'm still enjoying it. But yeah, it goes back to pacing. I think it's being paced pretty well, but the problem is it's following, like you said, directly the manga instead of making sure it's, I guess, flowing better as an anime. Like the first canon episode of this season, we go back and see Dabi and Mitoko and Endeavor and Hawks, right? And then we're dealing with the vestiges, and that's all great stuff. And then we just don't focus on it for another 5 episodes, you know?
Yeah. We see Endeavor for a short bit talking about how he's I don't know the word, annoyed that his son doesn't answer his text and all, which begs the question. Which, I don't know. I can't comment on that because I don't know how to approach that one. But maybe they could have paused to Todoroki's match and go maybe 1 or 2 episodes with following his dad before you start with his fight, just to spice the thing up. Like you said, I think the fights are great and fantastically paced, but
Mm-hmm.
It just maybe you don't start with this.
Yeah, it's a problem in the manga too, though, and I guess that's the hard part of adapting this particular season. It's again, like we're saying, we had all that great stuff at the beginning, and then it's just, yeah, we're gonna ignore that for 10 episodes, and we'll get back to it later. But like, even this episode was the first time they mentioned the vestiges since like episode 2 of this season.
Yeah, I must admit though, this is sort of like a side thing, but
Mhm.
I can, for one second, understand Bakugo's frustration when he said, "But you told me that I should keep your relationship secret, and you just talk like that out of nowhere." And
Yeah, it's funny. This episode was great. It was great for the character moments and the character beats because
yeah,
not a lot of action happened. So
yeah.
I also like Ashido teasing Uraraka because of course she would know what's going on with Deku and All Might. Or
Pretty
me
much
her
go
break
on.
dancing when she's getting floated up into the air. It was great moments in this episode.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious for everyone besides Deku that she's kind of into him, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, Deku can be a bit of an idiot. I mean, it took him 50 episodes to learn how to kick.
Eh, but he's our lovable douchebag. I was close to say douchebag, but he's our lovable uh, lovable idiot genius, considering he's a genius in so much else.
Yeah, he's a little cinnamon roll.
Yeah, he's to some extent, I would say that he is Kid Goku in some regard.
That's an interesting comparison,
I
honestly.
mean, Kid Goku was a genius in with fighting and all that, yes, but he was,
Mhm.
and to some extent still is when he's an adult. Not gonna lie, um, an idiot within this in social norms, if you know what I mean. I mean,
Yeah.
like I mentioned in was it a previous episode, how Shishi just asked him, "Will you marry me when we're grown ups?" Oh, of course. Then he totally forgot it, and I'm like, "Oh, I promised you that. Okay, let's do it."
Yeah, well, he's a man of his word.
Yeah, and apparently, according to Akira Toriyama, he has never kissed Shishi, which creates many questions.
So, okay, well, I'll ask that question in
Uh,
another podcast.
yeah.
But what were your thoughts on Ida and his reciprocal burst? Like seeing the lengths he has to go to improve his quirk,
All I'm saying is, ouch, ouch,
right?
and double ouch. That gotta hurt.
That's crazy. I wonder what circumstance did it take for their grandfather to figure out that that was even something they can do?
He had he was late to work, and he was one delay of getting fired. I don't know.
Yeah, but I thought that was interesting. It's kind of cool seeing all the characters get a power up, even though I don't know, like it kind of felt they were that team was kind of slow in the sense that hey, he makes everything bouncy essentially. We're just gonna shoot ice at it, like they wouldn't be able to transform the ice.
Yeah,
And it's
I,
like okay,
I was thinking the same thing, but and he won't be able to do the ice bouncy because why?
yeah. Sometimes it feels like in these first 3 matches, Class A wasn't really thinking about the matchup they were facing.
The only
Like,
one that the only one that sort of thought through was the previous team that lost. I feel.
yeah, and Yayoroshi did a great job. That's why I do enjoy these episodes again for those character moments. It's just like they didn't think that this guy possesses shadow. One of our teammates is literally Dark Shadow, you know? And it's just things like that. They're just like, okay, I roll. But yeah, this was a fantastic episode. I really enjoyed seeing Team 3. go at it. I also liked following up on Tensei, Ida's brother, who we haven't even mentioned for like 2 seasons now. Or
Yeah,
like you said, just flashing back to Endeavor and seeing how that's going to affect Shoto in the next episode, I think is going to be really good.
and if you don't know, the whole him sneezing is a prime thing that anime use when someone is mentioning said character's name. It's sort of sort of like there is in certain comedies. Why do I feel angry all of a sudden? That kind of trope.
Yeah, I noticed that when it happened, and it was so funny. I also think it was funny when Pony started speaking in English.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a good episode. The action is going to be in the next one, so that's going to be exciting. I just want to touch on again the opening and ending themes for this season are fantastic.
That I can totally agree on.
We did not mention that in any of these reviews, so I'm just making that known. Fantastic.
And but then again, that's I would argue that most, if not all, of opening/endings of My Hero is fantastic. To be perfectly frank,
Oh yeah, there hasn't been a bad one at all.
is
But
how many are they sticking with one each? No. We're just sidetracking here.
no,
And for
go
once,
ahead.
I was just thinking how many openings and endings do they have each season?
Each
No,
season it should be 2 apiece because each arc it changes, and there's usually 2 story arcs per season. So this should
yeah,
be the 8th one
yeah,
for each.
yeah. And did I send you that meme of anime openings, anime endings?
You did, and yeah, that's a prime example of what happened last season as well.
Yeah, it's. I can't spoil it for people. I want. Yeah, yes, man. Yes, I say it's a prime. It's a meme going through the difference of openings and endings, in short. But anyway, do you have anything more to say about this episode before we go to the manga?
This episode, no. Again, I enjoyed it. This one was just a lot of setup for the payoffs that are going to come next week. Um, that's the issue with this arc in general. Is it's a lot of setup one way, and then the payoff is going to be in the next episode. So I'm just looking forward to see Todoroki's match. These next few matches are going to be fun. Bakugo's match and Midoriya's match. So I'm excited to see where we go from there.
Yeah, I can totally agree on that one. And let's hope that it flows better from here after the whole arc is all said and done.
Oh, trust me, buddy. If they screw up the arcs after this one, there's gonna be hell to pay.
Yeah, I know. Like you, I read the manga, and I know, but we all know that adaptations can screw the pooch. The Promised Neverland, but I trust in the Studio Bones.
Yeah, they'll do fine. They'll do it justice.
Okay, before we continue, spoilers. For you that don't read the manga, spoilers. We are going to talk about chapter 311, and there will continue spoilers galore and spoilers. So I give you 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go.
Great.
Chapter.
Sorry.
Fuck.
But before we get into the chapter, I just had some manga spoilers for that episode we talked about, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I have a quick question for you, right quick. Do you think they're being a little heavy-handed with the Toya Todoroki stuff?
How do you mean?
Well, like they mentioned Toya again, and Endeavor specifically says Toya. Toya was mastering like the super fire move that he's trying to teach young Todoroki, young Shoto. And I don't know, it feels like the anime is being way less subtle than the manga when it came to Toya Todoroki. Maybe that's just because I
Yeah.
already know what happens, but I just wanted your opinion on that one.
Now that I think about it, yeah, you have a point there, and subtle. But then again, I wonder if subtlety really is a, should I say, a big issue, or not in a series like that. I mean, we have go back into Dragon Ball. I wouldn't call that series show subtle, and then yeah, we all know how that series, how popular that series is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is not. Go on.
No, it's just like my sister watches the show and she's in anime only, and she already put it together. And so that's why it's like I don't know, I don't remember if the manga was as heavy-handed with this, or if it's just I already know. And so it's easier for me to pick up on it. But yeah, you know.
But yeah, I can. But yeah, you could argue that it would benefit for them to be more subtle because it erases the, what's the word, suspense, for the when it comes to story purpose. I mean, we are not talking about Frieza have a third and final form or something like that. Simple that everyone saw coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that I'm usually sorry about the comparison to Dragon Ball, but considering it's the grandfather of these kind of shonen animes, it's easy to make the comparison.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with comparing it to Dragon Ball. At least we're not comparing it to Attack on Titan this week.
Yeah. I mean, the only Attack on Titan similarities that you could reasonably use is that first arc that I mentioned earlier, but that's about it.
Right.
Dragon Ball is filled with fillers to the point of no existence, but that's besides the point.
So, yeah, sorry to derail the conversation. You're about to introduce the latest manga chapter, 311.
Dude, I'm not the one that that should be angry about derailing. You know how much I messes with Brandon when he's in all of them.
This is very true. This was my opportunity to repay you for all the torture you do to Brandon. Since now you're the host, but all right.
Who knew? The Mad Dog can be a bit sane at times.
Yeah, but 311, it's Here We Go.
Yeah. Any general thoughts about that?
So in this chapter, we actually take a small break from following Midoriya, and we actually cut back to the pro heroes, Endeavor, Hawks, and Best Jeanist. I think this is a really needed chapter, much like the episode of the anime we just got discussing. It's kind of good to break away from the main story and just follow up with the other characters once in a while. It's really interesting here because like the world is angry at pro heroes to the point where they're saying they don't want Endeavor's help, which I feel is a bit crazy because they can't stop villains themselves. So it's like, if he's there to help, you kind of just have to accept it, you know?
Yeah.
But...
And... go on.
I just think that was pretty interesting. Also, the conversation that the three of them have in the car takes up the majority of the chapter. And I think that was very interesting as well. We get like Hawk's perspective on this whole one for all situation, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, and it's like we talked about before.
Mhm.
While he is he's great in creating those suspenseful fight and all, it's this honestly, it's these small moments like this that arguably makes this that make this anime and slash manga shine as well as they do, because you can have good fights and all that, yes, but if you don't have characters that you care for, it doesn't. It just becomes white noise, if you know. I mean, and you need time to breathe, and moments like this is perfect.
Mhm.
Perfect stuff to just see where they're going, how they're holding up, them going through having exposition, potential exposition about the plot moving forward,
Yeah.
and all that jazz. And you just get a chance to breathe.
Yeah, it does raise up some interesting questions. So we've known for a while now that All for One is pretty much just being Orochimaru, and he wants to take over Shigaraki's body.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, he's certainly a snake in disguise.
right. I get it. But what's interesting, and it's a good point that was raised by Hawks, they're talking about like the rage that you need to be able to like your will has to be strong enough to take over One for All, which is interesting because Best Genus puts it there's basically like 8 spirits inside of One for All, so you need to have enough hatred inside of you to be able to overtake it, which is something we never really thought about. But also, Endeavor points out that All for One doesn't have that hatred because he actually enjoys all the chaos. That's how crazy he is. Which
He's kind of like Joker in that regard.
little bit, yeah, which is that's just a small conversation, but that kind of does change the way you think of All for One, right? He's this mastermind, but also, yeah, he's not here to really, get revenge or have vengeance like Shigaraki. He's just kind of here because he thinks it's fun, which yeah, feels like the Joker.
So, which makes him arguably more dangerous than. How should I put it? You can argue that Joker is more dangerous than Lex Luthor just because he wants chaos for fun and not cause quote unquote chaos for control.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think it's interesting moving on throughout the chapter, how Deku is like overworking himself and he's not sleeping and he's barely eating, and how All Might like flashes back to Night Eye having the same issues that All Might was having regarding Deku. And I thought that was really, really clever because yeah, Night Eye felt the same way, and now All Might's kind of in Night Eye's role, trying to take care of Midoriya, which was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I have to say, I feel sorry for the guy because he wants to help out, protect, and all that, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he was once the most powerful hero, but now he would not be able to defend himself if just a simple rogue attacked him.
Yeah, which brings us to this next part. Somebody just throws a grenade at his car.
Yeah.
Did All Might just die?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like we're talking about how slow and how methodical this chapter is, giving us some downtime. Then out of nowhere, All Might just like blows up.
Yeah, I was before I was before this chapter, I was seriously considering because the potential of how Eri might help him to get some form of his powers back. But now,
Mhm.
now I'm just maybe not. Maybe not because it would be. Because let's face it, it would be quite a fan service if he could join in on the final fights, and and I thought that could be something I could see happening.
I guess my thing, not to get too off track with that theory, but when you pass on the power, even if she can rewind him back to being back to normal health, would she be able to rewind him back to where he had his power? Or would he just be a healthy, powerless All Might as opposed to All Might with one for all?
I mean, if he's a healthy, powerless All Might, they can at least give him some form of equipment that he can help out. He can help out fighting with those.
Oh yeah, I
Technically,
agree with that. I was just wondering, like, do we know if you can rewind the power back? That's my thing.
I honestly I don't know, but I will admit it would be fun to see him fight at the end. But like we just said, did
Yeah,
he just die?
exactly. And like having Night Eye appear in this chapter could be both ways. Like, is it foreshadowing All Might's death that happens literally on the next page, or is it a fake out because Night Eye says that All Might dies a gruesome death, and while car explosion is bad, would Night Eye consider that a gruesome death?
I mean, car crash through the means of grenade. I could argue that would be a gruesome death.
Yeah, it could go both ways, but I don't know. I always felt like Shigaraki would kill him, or All for One would kill him, or something like that. This would be a really weird way for him to go. So I don't think he's dead, especially since he's in like the Batmobile. He probably has some sort of armor on it, but that was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on to the end of the chapter, we get introduced to a new character. We saw her break out of Tartar's prison like 10 chapters ago, but we still don't have her name. She has like this apparently like her arm can turn into a sniper rifle. What do you think her deal is?
And I wouldn't be. She feels just the fact that she said, "I follow my orders and leave your limbs attached," and all that. Yes, and he tells me that he shall go with he shall go with her and all that. Yes, it just screams mercenary, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I love her
Someone
already.
and by the I wouldn't. What's that big vampire lady in Resident Evil Village that everyone talks about?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't played it yet.
But you know who I mean. I just got.
Yeah, I know the character, but I don't know the names yet. Yeah.
I was just. Was her design inspiration for it? Because Jesus damn, she's big.
Yeah, she's also with Overhaul. I don't know if you noticed that. He's in the corner of this panel. And so
Yeah, I noticed.
Deku's like she's a hired gun sent by All for One. And it's like, I don't know if she is. Would Overhaul work with Shigaraki and All for One?
No, he would not.
Yeah.
Honestly, I see. I would go out on a limb and arguably
Ooh.
say that I would argue. Ha ha ha! I would argue. I would go so far to say that I think Overhaul. There is a higher chance that Overhaul would join forces with Deku than he would work with a big bad for the sake of revenge. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, you know.
Yeah, I can see that. That's why, like, this is supposed to lead us to believe they're working with All for One, but I don't think they are. And it goes back to this video pitch that I was talking to you about that I didn't get a chance to make. So, guys, and Isaac's my witness. I have this video that I plan on releasing, and it's called "Why My Hero Academia Needs the Suicide Squad." I wouldn't
Yeah,
be surprised if this is a version of that, right? Where a bunch of the bad guys have to eventually team up with maybe Hawks and Deku or whoever because they're so low on heroes. If you don't want to work with All for One, they probably need to band together and stop him, like you said, enemy
yeah,
of my enemy.
yeah. Because they might be there might be some bad guys over there, but they that doesn't want to be good guys, but at the same time they don't agree with the big bad guys way of handling things. So they just okay, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Mhm.
So sort of like that. Similar how the villains in Justice League Unlimited helps out at the end of the series against Darkseid with the Justice League.
Yeah, or how the Guardians of the Galaxy band together. They live in the
Yeah,
universe. They live in the galaxy. They need to help save it. You know?
yeah, exactly.
I'm
And
really interested to see what comes of this though, because you know how much Deku loves Eri. He is not gonna work with Overhaul easily.
no, no, no.
So
The,
it'll be interesting. I think this was a great chapter. It was only 15 pages long, so it was a little shorter than the last few you've been getting, but yeah, I thought it was really good
it was short but effective,
for
if
sure.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm very looking forward to the next one. That's for sure.
Yeah. So next chapter comes out next Sunday, this coming Sunday.
Yes, and I can't wait to find out more. But anyway, uh, that wraps up our discussion about the manga episode.
Yep, that would have to do it. I think we got all our thoughts out there. Really great introspective stuff with the relationship of All for One and why he's doing what he's doing, and potentially the death of All Might. God, I hope not, because I really would hate for Brandon to have missed that episode.
uh, this it would be insane to have him just not joining this episode when, but oh, we discussed if he was dead or not, and now we know if he is dead or not, so to speak.
Yeah, that I hope not. That would be a really, really lame way for him to go.
I mean, I was, or maybe they do Nick Fury from the Winter Soldier.
I wouldn't be surprised if they went that route, because one of Shigaraki's biggest motivations is to kill All Might. So if All Might is taken off the board, what does that do to Shigaraki? You know?
Mm, true, true.
Thing is, I don't know if they should fake All Might's death since they kind of already did that with Best Jeanist. Can you really get away with that twice?
Mm, I would argue that depends on the execution, but I'm more I'm more on the no side.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this one. At least I think we covered everything pretty well.
Yeah. So that wraps up the whole thing. But Present Mike, where can we find you?
Yeah, you guys can find me here every week reviewing My Hero Academia with my friends at the Amateur Otaku. You can also find me on Twitter at Novice Cinephile, on YouTube at Novice Cinephile. I just uploaded a new video about the Legend of Korra. So if you guys are into that, definitely recommend checking it out.
Yeah, and you can find me over at Emblemaniac on Twitter, and you can find our You can find my work over at Wobem Entertainment, and you can find our pod at Amateur Otaku Pod on Twitter. And yes, I noticed now that I failed to write the banner for the chapter twice. God, dang it. This is my first time doing hosting a live stream, but whatever. Have it awesome, guys.
Have it awesome. Plus Ultra.
Plus Ultra.